Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Jonathan Rosenfeld, who's the founder of Rosenfeld Injury Lawyers. Jonathan, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Hey, I suppose that injury lawyers kind of says it all, so we'll dive into what kind of cases and clients you serve. But before we get into that, what has your entrepreneurial journey been like to this point in your career?
Well, it's actually sort of interesting. I've always been sort of interested in the in entrepreneurial aspects of things. I mean, long before entrepreneur was actually a title that people use. As a kid, I remember, doing lemonade stands, and in college, I was, selling T-shirts door to door before college football games. And I graduated college. My parents said, "Well, that's great. What are you going to do now?" And I said, "I have no idea." And they said, "Well, how about law school?" And being the obedient child that I am, I went to law school and really didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. And I just sort of gravitated towards personal injury. The reason being, I was applying for clerkships after my first or second year of law school. And I just wound up at a firm that was doing personal injury work. And I think one of the first days or first weeks I was there was they had a larger case. And I said, who is they were chopping up the fees on it. And I said, who's John Smith? I had never seen him in the office. And they said, oh, he's the lawyer who referred us the case. As a referring lawyer, he's getting, a third or more of the settlement. And right away, that was sort of something that cued my interest. And I also love the fact that, everything was on a contingency, that there was an incentive to do the work, do it as efficiently as perform and do it as efficiently as possible, as opposed to most attorneys who basically just sit at a desk, for 30 years and try to account for their time. So, that's sort of that was the beginning of it. And that's sort of, early on, I realized, hey, this is something that really suits my personality and my interests. So that's where
neat.
That's
neat.
Yeah.
Because you can, when you're dealing with personal injury, someone's hurt and now you're coming to their rescue. So there's that feeling too, and nothing wrong with this, but I can only imagine that corporate law and shuffling papers. And I mean, I'm sure you're doing good, but I think that, maybe people find rewarding feelings by serving people and in the capacity that's yours. So I think that's really, really awesome.
Yeah, no, it's always, satisfying, but it's also, makes each day very unique when you get to talk to real people, and interact with real people with different backgrounds and personalities, as opposed to, working for a company. So I enjoy it immensely.
So is there a specific specialty within personal injury? Because, personal injury is a specialty, but I know that in my area, I'm in Denver, and I see billboards of attorneys talking about, were you hit by a big semi? Or were you hurt in with a motorcycle accident? Are there specialties that become like your forte that you typically are focused on?
It's interesting. You are 100% right. There's a zillion different ways to skin the cat. My firm, we really just focus on significant injury cases. We are not a high volume law firm that churns and burns, soft tissue, auto or slip and fall cases, hundreds at a time. We are intentionally selective with the types of cases we get involved in. They tend to be more complex cases with more significant injuries. We do, definitely we do auto cases. Definitely we do medical malpractice cases, nursing home negligence cases. But these are cases that tend to have, a significant injury, a life-changing injury, a broken bone with surgery, unfortunately, someone may have died in an accident. And it's something that I enjoy doing because frankly, you have to dive deep into these cases. You can't just, look at these on a superficial level. You really have to look at each case individually. And that's really where our focus has been, since we got started. I just didn't really like the, settle every case, as quickly as possible mentality that some high volume law firms have. And we've just really, this is our little niche here.
Yeah. So now would be, significant injury. How do you define that? Because any injury would feel significant to people, but I think that, what's going to make someone go, I twisted my ankle walking off of this business's parking lot, so that's an injury, and a personal injury. But what's going to trigger then a significant injury where you would be able to come in and help out?
Yeah, it's sort of difficult because a lot of times I don't want to minimize what people are experiencing, and every person, experiences things differently. But when it comes to personal injury cases, I think the days of, a bump and bruise, rear end, car accident, maybe doing some physical therapy, maybe your injury resolves fairly quickly after, 6, 8, 10 visits or something. And, you walk out the door and you put the case behind you. That's sort of, to me, a more minor injury. There are attorneys who really handle those cases. They do a great job with them. But that's not really the type of case that we want to get involved with for the most part. We tend to focus on cases where someone may have, they may have fallen in a parking lot and they may have broken their ankle and they may require surgery and then rehab or something like that. Those are the cases where you can really make an impact on the person's life. And those are cases where, frankly, the work that we do really adds a significant amount of value to a case like that. We have got cases where people have, we've gotten cases referred to us from other attorneys who, there may be a significant injury, there may have been an offer on the case, and they didn't want to litigate the case. They didn't want to file the lawsuit and work the case up. We go ahead, we file the lawsuit, we get everything, organized, we hire experts in cases. We really build up the case to really add value to it. So it's not a formulaic approach that some law firms use and some insurance companies use to resolve cases. So anytime there's a life-changing injury, that's the type of case that we get involved with.
Yeah. So I think that you probably are the only personal injury attorney in the Chicago area. I'm just confident of that, but you have competition. Right. So here comes someone that is seeing something out there. I've got this major injury. Who do I pick? Why do they pick you? What are some of the things that set you apart from all the other choices that they have?
It's an excellent question. I think one of the things that we do is we, try to be as transparent as possible with both our, content on our website as well as on other sites. And we offer, obviously we want people to pick up the phone, contact us, talk to us. Hopefully, at some point we can start setting in-person meetings again. But I guess to answer your question a little bit better, initially is really, there's a sea of content out there. You can look on billboards, you can look on, different platforms. But what we try to focus on is really, we spend quite a bit of time on internet marketing. And one of the things that we try to do to differentiate, our office from the sea of, competitors and other injury attorneys out there, is we really try to make as comprehensive information as possible. We really try to answer questions that people may have after an accident. We really try to provide as thorough, a set of content, almost a legal encyclopedia, if you will, to really provide answers to people. And so by the time, a lot of times people today, they're doing pretty extensive research on their situation. And I think, one of the things that benefits us is that when people start doing the research and they start trying to, learn about their legal rights and options, they may see 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of content that we have out there. And I've spoken to people, I talk to people regularly where they say, you know what, I kept doing different types of searches and I saw your law firm and your content keep popping up, and I just wanted to give you a call because you seemed like you really had thorough content. You guys were really providing a lot of material, and you guys were answering questions. And I think that sort of initiates the process of, beginning the dialogue. Ultimately, it's the person's decision. Not every we may not be right for every case, and vice versa, but it at least begins the dialogue, and that's what we try to do.
What you just described is in marketing, it's a technique, or really I guess a cause, not even something you do to people, but people don't want to be sold. They want to understand, and they don't want you to tell them stuff. They want you to educate them, and you actually are guiding the process. You're not, like pounding down this square peg in a round hole going, do this, because you're just pointing people to maybe sections of your website to go, hey, here's this, great piece, this article here, here's what you need to understand about this. And then that way, your prospective clients, who then become clients, understand your methodology of what you're describing. They don't know all of the, minutia that you're going to do, but they understand the plan that you're laying out. Do you find that when you're working with clients that's something that they really appreciate?
Yeah. I mean, I think, like I said before, I think the days, increasingly, I'm very impressed with how, much legwork people put into researching their situation, whether they have a loved one who's in a nursing home who may have, been mistreated, developed a pressure sore or something. They're not necessarily just calling, punching the, necessarily the term nursing home abuse lawyer into their phone or their desktop or whatever. They're actually doing research about the facility. They're doing research about the type of injury, their condition and everything. And I think when you start providing content that sort of, meshes with the searcher intent. I mean, it sounds sort of cliche, with marketers. A lot of times people are like, oh, Google, I think, has said for years, they try to match up, user intent with search results. But, and I think there was a little bit of a disconnect for some time, but I think increasingly, Google's doing a better job of it. And frankly, the consumers are, they're expecting that. And it's, when you provide the, extensive, frequently asked questions or something like that, you're really opening the door to a broader client base, but also, frankly, a better client base. Someone who's going to be, more involved in their case. They're probably more involved, frankly, from the start. And that's something that, I respect people who, sort of take it upon themselves to make those initial decisions. And those are some of the best clients. The clients that I've enjoyed working with the most are some of the more, I'm not going to say the more sophisticated clients, but just some of the clients who just really are genuinely invested in their case.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it really is something where when they understand and they're invested, and then maybe even there's some things that you're having them do during the process, they're going to get it done. I think that's a really big point too. And then they can see that you're not just a newbie in the industry, and your website shows $250 million in settlements and verdicts. You've been around the block and a thing or two, and that's awesome. What would be something, I would think another competitive advantage might be no fee unless we win, which is what is another thing on your website. Cause I think that a lot of times people have heard that or think, oh yeah, but nope. But if you give a free consultation to assess their case, and then if you take them on and they come on board, they're not paying a fee until you win. That's a pretty good proposition there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that people don't realize in personal injury is that, you know, on top of, you know, the time that goes into these cases, there's also a very significant amount of expense that's related to these cases. And when I say expense, I mean, you know, court costs, you know, to file a lawsuit, you know, it costs, you know, $700-800 to start taking depositions, you know, it starts adding up. When typically for a lot of our cases, we invest in just in terms of out-of-pocket expense, you know, anywhere from 10 to 50 to sometimes $100,000 or more on a case. And that doesn't include anything for our time. So when we get involved in a case, we are very much partnered with the client to see a successful outcome. We are not in the business of, you know, drilling wells that are dry. When we get involved in a case, we are really committed to seeing that case through, obviously for the client, but also for our own bottom line as well. So, you know, I think there's a mutually beneficial relationship that really goes beyond, you know, a free consultation and a free fee. I mean, it's almost like a marriage, if you will, to a certain extent.
Well, it's like they say, and you've got skin in the game.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're incurring hard costs on the behalf of the client, like not just, our time. Well, time is important, but you have hard costs like that. You've got skin in the game. You want to succeed and win the case. And then also your website says we get you 350% greater compensation. That ties right into this, but what are some of the ways that you're able to get higher compensation?
That's a great question. You know, first off, you know, a lot of times, you know, after an accident, you know, if there's a truck accident, and a lot of times there's an insurance company for the truck, and they may just, you know, say, hey, you know what, send us your bills, you know, we'll give you, you know, $5,000-10,000, you know, in pain and suffering. And sometimes people, they don't know any better, and they sign off on a paper, and, you know, they basically settle their case, but they don't know that they may need future medical care. They may need, a medical procedure, surgery or something. And so what we do, you know, in order to really maximize the value of a case is what we'll, you know, first off, we never settle a case until we have a really clear picture of what is going on with our client. You know, I would never, ever, ever suggest to a client to resolve their case before we have a really firm grasp of both their past and future medical needs. So a lot of times, you know, what we'll do is we'll sit down with their treating doctor, we'll set an appointment, we'll meet with their doctor, we'll talk about their case, talk about their injury, and then we may have the doctor prepare a report almost in anticipation of the issues that will arise in their case during the course of litigation. And that basically, it basically cuts to the chase. And when the insurance company may say, oh, you know what, this is not a big deal, you know, the injuries have resolved, we can at that point say, you know what, read the report. Here's the report. And that really, it shows the insurance company that, you know, you're mean business. It shows that you're prepared. And ultimately it leads to typically a faster resolution of the case for more compensation. So,
yeah. So you're like making sure that nothing is falling through the cracks, even things that, you know, like they say, you don't know what you don't know. Well, many times these clients, they don't know that this could come up and that could come up, but you have seen that in the past in other cases. So you're just making sure that everything and every possibility is accounted for.
I like to say, prepare for war, hope for peace.
Yep.
And
right.
that's something that we really try to do because, you know, we've seen how these cases play out, you know, over the years. You know, we've done many, you know, similar type cases. So when I see something, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, doing it, frankly, you know, not taking the shortcut, doing it the right way, doing it, you know, it may not be the easy way, but doing it the right way to position the case for the most favorable outcome.
100%. Well, Jonathan, I think that you just laid out so many great points of how you are serving your clients and making a difference in your community when people are really at one of the worst times of their life. So what's the best way that someone can reach out, connect with you, get that free consultation, and see if you're able to help them as well?
Yeah, no. First off, check us out on any of the social platforms. YouTube, we do quite a bit of content. We're doing some there's also podcasts. Check out the Rosenfeld Injury Podcast and any podcast platform. But probably the best way to contact us is via our website, rosenfeldinjurylawyers.com. Take a look at the material, fill out a contact form. We will get back with you. Call us up, and we look forward and we welcome the opportunity to talk with anyone who may be in need of a personal injury attorney.
Awesome. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on today. It was a pleasure meeting with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.